bisexual, but when I feel like eating ass, I'm a lesbian. I was dating this woman for a while who was a vegetarian, and she would eat dairy, but she wouldn't eat eggs. She said an egg is an animal too. And I said, no, it's not, it's a period. And, you know, people can eat whatever they want, I don't really care. I just thought it was kind of weird that she wouldn't eat a chicken's period when she had no problem eating mine. I went through this phase where I was dating a lot of alcoholics because when they wake up with the DTs and they finger you, it's just like a vibrator. I've dated a lot of guys that had kids, but none that had custody rights. It was like, oh, you're not allowed to see your kids? Cool, I don't really want to fucking see them either.
Fucking kids.
So, ladies in the audience, I don't know about y'all, but if someone grabs my tits without permission, I just punch them in the face instinctively. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. And that's why I'm facing charges for breaking a newborn's cheekbone. You know, it didn't register with me that it was a baby. I just saw this drooling bald guy coming at me like a tiny Weinstein. So I knew this guy once who was a mortician, and he was 22 years old. And I feel like that's just so fucking weird to begin with. But if you did meet a 22-year-old mortician, your assumption would be, okay, this is a family business. Not this guy. This guy independently decided to become a mortician at the age of 22. Let me tell you, this guy was getting so much pussy, and none of it was warm. I had sex with this 80-year-old guy a while ago, and I kind of felt like a slightly early necrophiliac. You know? It was kind of like I had gone there meaning to fuck a dead guy, and then I got there and he was still alive, but just barely. And I was like, we can make it work, your skin is gray enough. I will tell you, there are certain benefits to fucking old guys. You know, they're all totally cool with pubes. That's good for me. My bush looks like I had Bob Ross's afro grafted onto my labia. I've also noticed old guys seem to not care quite as much about asses. That's also good for me. My ass looks like Bob Ross's afro tucked between two fallen souffles. I was talking to some of my women friends. You know, some of them are really into dirty talk in bed, and some of them not as much. And I was like, look, I'm out here fucking these old guys. I need them to keep talking the whole time to make sure they're alive and well. You know, moaning isn't enough, because sometimes sex moans sound an awful lot like stroke moans. And you're bent over and you're thinking, wow, he's moving it towards the left a lot. That joke is funny if you know stroke symptoms. There are some benefits to fucking old women, too. They give you a Werther's original afterwards. I live in Bisbee, Arizona. There's an old lady there who I want to fuck. Her name is Margot Wallenberg. She is 84 years old, she's 6 feet tall, she has a really deep, grisly, masculine voice, and she still rides a motorcycle at 84. She's a badass bitch. And me and Margot, we kind of have this shtick going where I'm always hitting on her. I'm always like, oh Margot, when are you gonna let me taste your geriatric pussy in my mouth? And then Margot always says, I'm not attracted to you! And that's kind of our thing, we know, it's like a will they, won't they, Ross and Rachel, you know? But Margot, she's just out of my league. So I was with this guy, and he ended up, well, we had problems because he was really into fingering belly buttons. He was a belly button fingerer. He didn't give me any warning about this. He just started jamming it in there 2 knuckles deep, digging around like he's trying to find out what kind of food I ate when I was a fetus. And I jumped away. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, what? I finger belly buttons. What, you think that's weird? I've been doing that to to women my entire life and none of them thought it was weird. And I said, yes, they fucking did. Yeah, they did, dude. And it's not my fault if you can't tell the difference between a woman enjoying herself and a woman dissociating from her body and hoping it's over soon. I promise, like, in general, I'm not like the kink-shaming person, you know? I have a friend who has a shit fetish. He has such an intense shit fetish that he has eaten his own shit. And I told him about the belly button guy, and he said, Jesus Christ, people are unhinged. Everyone has their thing, though, you know? I like being called a whore in bed. And sometimes a guy will say, oh, honey, that's so mean. I can't call you a whore. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just too nice of a guy.
I'll see you, honey.
And it's like, on the one hand, I totally respect that not everyone's going to be comfortable with it. But on the other hand, I've just noticed this pattern where a dude will say that he's too nice to call me a whore in bed, and then he'll be a dick to me in every other conceivable way except the one way that makes me come. Just something I've noticed. I want to tell you something, Slab City. I like receiving anal sex, but only if the guy's dick is small enough. And I really like to tell them that before we've ever had sex, because I think it's a real mindfuck for dudes to just be worrying, like, oh God, I hope my dick is small enough. I had really bad sex ed in school, and we were taught that if we had anal sex, we would 100% get pregnant. And as soon as we were taught that, we all started speculating upon who among us might have been conceived that way. Ass baby became the biggest insult in the 8th grade. It was like, hey, did you hear Nick's failing algebra? Bet he's an ass baby. Of course, that's ridiculous. Nick wasn't an ass baby. That kid had fetal alcohol syndrome. I did have really bad sex ed. I'm still not totally sure where my urethra is. I pee every day, so I know I have one. I've looked, I've asked other people to look. I got strip searched by TSA one time, and I was like, hey, you know, while you're down there, can you let me know if you find my urethra? I think it should be pretty close to my heroin. But no one's ever found it. I mean, no one's ever found my urethra. They found my heroin. But that's when I realized that, like, maybe my real urethra was the friends I made along the way. No one ever talks about female schmegma. Ever notice that? Okay, so here's a sex ed lesson for y'all, Slab City. Schmegma is just a combination of sweat and dead skin cells, and it can collect under the clitoral hood or in the folds of the labia. And it's not a big deal. You just rinse it off in the shower and you're good to go. So why doesn't anyone talk about it? And I think the reason is because no individual woman wants to be the face of the female schmegma normalization movement. Which is understandable, I get that, you know? Women, we have to be careful what we attach our image to, you know? Jamie Lee Curtis just won an Oscar and I still can't see her face without thinking about yogurt that makes you shit. I'm just, like, I'm here to tell all the women, like, I'm willing to take one for the team on this, you know? I'm willing to be the Jamie Lee Curtis of schmegma, you know? I'll just be on the commercials, eating it out of a cup with a spoon. It'll be great. Fair enough. I am on birth control, and one of the ways that birth control works is that it thickens your cervical mucus, so the sperms can't get up in there as easily. Dudes in the audience, did you know that when you come inside a woman on birth control, you're coming into a thick layer of mucus? It's pretty fucking hot, right? Like, come on, that's hot as fuck. It works with your nose, too. If a guy